this is going on page 25 when we're done. Right? Hopefully, I'm not teaching this from scratch, okay? Hopefully, we at least know what the absolute value sign means, right? I mean, does anything that comes out of an absolute value sign has to be what? Positive. Okay. So if I know that the absolute value of x equals 7, then what are my possible values of x? X could be what? -7 or 7, right? That totally makes sense to everybody, yes? Okay. If I have the absolute value of x equals -4, what are the possible values of x? -4. I don't know what I just came out of my mouth. What did we say? When it comes out of the absolute value, it has to be what? Positive. So is there anything I can put in for x where after I take the absolute value, I'm going to have -4? No. So there are none to answer that question. How you'd really answer it when you're solving something, the answer is no solution. Okay. So here are some steps to what you will do. You're going to isolate the absolute value expression. I will explain to you what that exactly means once we get down there and we're isolating it. Then the next thing is we have to create two cases because there's two things that could come out. We're going to set the inside equal to the positive and negative value of the number or whatever's on the other side of the equal sign. This is actually a shortcut. So the math major in me feels the need to show you what's really happening and do one that way and then show you what step we can skip, okay? Just so that you know what it officially is. Because honestly, it can be taught either way. And because I've really only ever tutored this or retaught it, I've never taught it from scratch. Anytime I have to go over it with somebody, I always go to an Algebra 2 teacher and go, okay, do you do it this way or this way? And I did the same thing today, just getting a consensus. And I was like, all right, I know where I want to head then. And then we solve both equations, no big deal. And then we check for extraneous solutions. Have you heard this word before? Extraneous solutions. What is an extraneous solution? You've heard the word, but you don't know how to express it yourself? Anybody? Once I get my answers, I substitute them back in. If they work, they're good. If they don't work, it's extraneous. Okay? Does that make sense? All right, so these are solutions. What are they? They are solutions that don't work when substituted back in. I guess I should say back in to original. Not just back into anything, back into the original equation, blah, blah, blah. But that gets the idea across. Okay? Everybody okay with that? So we got to check our solutions. And that doesn't mean you have to actually write it all out. Probably in Algebra 1 and maybe your pre-algebra class, when you were solving equations, they might have made you substitute stuff back in and prove it and check. You don't necessarily have to do that. You can just kind of think, is this going to work? And then you'll be okay. All right, so we're going to solve this one where we're not really doing step 2 like it says. We're going to do the official way, and then we're going to get to this part. The isolate the absolute value, that is on 3 and 4, they are isolated. On 5, it is not, because I have this plus 17. On the 6, it is not, because I have that 3. So we'll have to take care of those things before we do anything else. So basically, I don't even have to isolate on number 3. So it's isolated, boom. So then, what happens is, because this thing that is in here, x minus 9, I could just be plain old x minus 9, can equal 5. But then this could be the negative version of x minus 9, because then if I take the absolute value, I would still get 5. So officially, that is the mathematical way to do it, like whatever's inside plus the opposite of whatever's inside. Now we're going to solve these. Okay, so here I'm going to add 9 to both sides, and I get x equals what? 14. Now on the right, I have two options. I can distribute that negative, but I don't think I want to do that. Instead, if I divide both sides by a -1, I'm left with x minus 9 equals negative 5. And what that set up there was you take what's inside, you set it equal to the positive version, and you set it equal to the negative version. So by doing that, we're skipping this step, which is fine. We're going to skip it. But that also means that we have to pay a little bit more attention when we get to inequalities, but we're not there yet, okay? And then I'm going to add 9 to both sides. And what does that give me? 4. So that means my final answer, x equals 4 and 14. Okay? Everybody okay with that? Always set up both of your equations first, and then go. Oh, and then I should have checked for extraneous solutions, but at least I know that there aren't any on here, so it's fine. We don't have to erase anything. But I look at 14. 14 minus 9, I mean, that's going to be 5, and that gives me 5. 4 minus 9, negative 5, and that works. Like, nothing weird is happening. And most of the time, I won't misspeak here, but most of the time, if you don't have any variables on the other side, then they should work. It's when you have variables on the other side that weird things happen. Are y'all buzzing over here? Okay, if you need to silence it, you can. All right, so let's look at 4. And we are going to take what's inside, and we set it equal to the positive one, so 2k plus 7. And then we set it equal to the negative version of that, 2k plus 7. After that, that should be a super simple equation to solve. Would you agree with that? Like, the solve is not the problem. It's to make sure we set it up and we know how to handle it. So this will give me what? Negative 4 equals 2k. So negative 2 equals k. And here I would subtract 7, so I get negative 10 equals 2k. So negative 5 equals 2k. And when I substitute them back in, it really doesn't matter. I mean, these are real numbers, so when I multiply and add, whether they're big, small, positive, negative, it doesn't matter. I can take the absolute value, and it'll be fine. But 2 times the negative 2, that's negative 4 plus 7, that's 3. And then, oh, that does not equal 2k. Good Lord. Y'all, okay, let me give you my disclaimer, which sounds like an excuse, and it kind of is, but I have bouts of insomnia, and they have come back to haunt me last night. And I thought I was doing better after lunch, but I don't think so. Like this morning, my brain was real foggy. Negative 5 times 2, that would end up giving me negative 3, so we're good. Okay, everybody on that? All right, so now just to remind you about the isolating part. To isolate this, that means I need just the absolute value all by itself on one side of the equal sign. So before I set up my equations, I have to move that 17. And to legally move it, what do I do? Subtract. So that gives me the absolute value of y minus 1 equals, what is 23 minus 17? 6. Okay. Everybody good with that? Now that I have it isolated, now I can rewrite it, and I can get y minus 1 equals 6, and y minus 1 equals a negative 6. Okay? So that means that y equals 7 and y equals a negative 5. And honestly, leaving them separate like that, I'm fine with that. You could put them together and put a comma, but either way, you've got them both and you're fine. Everybody okay with that? Now, to isolate the absolute value in number 6, what do I need to do to legally move that 3? Divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3, get the absolute value. Notice I have not dropped the sign yet. And 39 divided by 3 is 13. Okay. So these are really simple equations, I know, but I wanted them to be simple so you weren't lost in the equation so we can understand the absolute value part. Now I can write my 2 equations. M plus 8 equals 13, and m plus 8 equals negative 13. And then again, should be piece of cake, but you got to know how to add and subtract. Think in terms of money. Money always helps. So m would be equal to 5, and m would be equal to negative what? 21. Everybody okay with that? And again, not checking for extraneous solutions here because it really is going to come into play when you have those variables on the other side, which we will on the back. All right, so number 7. Can I go ahead and drop the absolute value signs right now? No, because that is not isolated. So I'm going to isolate this by dividing both sides by 16. Okay, those are going to cancel out. Absolute value of r minus 5 is equal to negative 2. Now, do I need to go any farther? No, because is there anything I could possibly put in there that would result in me getting a negative 2? No. So if you have an absolute value set equal to a negative number, you can stop there and it is no solution. And if you don't, because sometimes we miss those things, like we keep going. But if you keep going, if you check for extraneous solutions, neither one of them are going to work because you're not going to be able to get the negative number. Okay? Everybody good? Any questions? All right. So should I stop on number 8 right now and go, oop, that's negative. I guess it's no solution. No, you isolate it first. So if I want to isolate this, what do I do? Good. Multiply both sides by negative 2. So here, these cancel out. I get the absolute value of y minus 10 equals what? 12. Positive 12. So don't assume just because you see equals a negative, you can automatically say no solution. Because if you have to add, subtract, multiply, divide, it might change things. Go ahead and finish this one up, because hopefully by now you get the idea. Any questions at all? All right. I'll flip it over then. Go ahead and do number 9. Let me know if you got questions along the way. And, but I want you to show your work. Okay, so I want to see both equations. Because here's the thing. I want to make sure that your work, so I want to see y'all's work, because I know these are super easy, and I make sure that we're on purpose. But I want to see your work, because we honestly have no idea what your college algebra teacher is going to expect of you. So I want to make sure your work makes sense, and you know how to show your work effectively, and all that kind of stuff. It's fine to skip steps on things, but we still have to show. So I'm going to go ahead and start working this. I know some of you are done, some of you are not, but if you're not, just don't look up here yet until you're done, so that you can. I had a bad feeling. Okay. Any questions on that? I mean, if we get something wrong, sometimes we make mistakes, and that's fine. Making a mistake, that's all going to happen to all of us, but I don't want you to just completely not have any concept of the process either. See, and I think, oh, see, I thought one of them was negative when you had it written out there. Okay, good job. And even if you, even if you skipped like these steps, that would be okay. At least show the equations. So that's fine. Because it's not about showing every single little thing, but just some of the process. All right, let's do number 10. So what do I need to do first? Multiply by 9. So I get the absolute value of 3a plus 12 equals what? 0. Good. Sometimes y'all are afraid to write things down when your answer is 0, like you think you're wrong. 0 and 1 somehow freak you out. A lot of times that makes it a little bit easier. But 9 times 0 is 0. So here, I'm going to take 3a plus 12, and I'm going to set it equal to 0. Is negative 0 a thing? No. So really, this one, I only have one answer. So this would be, you know what does an absolute value look like when you graph it? Anybody? It's the V, right? Remember, it's the broken line. So kind of like with a quadratic, I got 3 options of what could happen. I could have 2 answers, like what we've been getting. I could have 1 answer because it's sitting on the axis, or I could have no answers because it's floating above, right? So this is kind of how you get just one answer here. And so then we subtract 12 from both sides. 3a equals negative 12. A equals negative 4. Everybody okay with that? Any questions at all? All right. So then, I was going to say, maybe we could skip this one. Let's go ahead and do 11. We'll do it together. What should I do first? Minus 9, okay? I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides so that those zero out. That leaves me with negative 4. Don't drop a sign anywhere. Absolute value of c plus 10 equals negative what? 24. Everybody good? Notice it's the same thing if you just pretend like the absolute value is a big X itself. It's the same little process you'd solve. So what do I do next? Divide by negative 4. Good. So I get c plus 10, absolute value of c plus 10, sorry, equals what? 6. Positive 6. Good, because negative divided by negative. Then we are going to write our equation. C plus 10 equals 6, and c plus 10 equals negative 6. So this was just one way you subtract and divide. Make sure we know how to do it in the right order. So I'm going to get c equals negative 4, and c equals, what did I do? Oh, shoot, that's negative. I'm sorry. Negative 16. I don't know if I said negative 6 or not, but that second one was supposed to be negative 6. Everybody good with that? All right. 12. Tell me what you already don't like about 12. It's a fraction. I want you to go ahead and try it without me. If you feel like you need to try it with a marker on the table first, I'm fine with that. But I want you to learn to not let your brain shut down when you see a fraction. Okay? So my first 2 steps are exactly the same. The fraction really is just hanging out there, right? Even now, I have the absolute value isolated. It is set equal to a positive 2. So now I'm going to have 2 equals k over 5, and negative 2 equals k over 5. And then, yes, it's a fraction, but this isn't that bad because what do I need to do? Multiply by 5. So I'm going to get 10 equal to k, and negative 10 equals k. Okay, everybody all right with that? Yes? All right, so everything we've done so far has been something with an absolute value equal to a number. So now we have an absolute value equal to something that also has a variable in it. So here's where you really do need to check for extraneous solutions, okay? And you also have to be very careful not to make a very common mistake, and probably need to make a little mugshot for math jail for this one as well. All right, so I have my absolute value. Is the absolute value isolated? Yes, it is all by itself on one side of the equal sign. So we got it isolated. So now I'm going to take 3x minus 9. I set it equal to what's on the right-hand side. And then I also have 3x minus 9 set equal to the negative version of what's on the right-hand side. And since there is more than one term, you need parentheses there. The distribution of that negative is what is a very common mistake. Don't make it, because some people make it like every single time they ever do it. We don't want to do that. So then I'm just going to separate this from myself and so you don't get lost in here. And then we're going to solve this. So I'm going to subtract x, get 2x. I'll add the 9, get 10. So x equals 5. I'll agree with that. Skipping steps is fine, but remember you do not have to. Okay? Before I do anything here, or the first thing I have to do is distribute that negative. So here I have 3x minus 9 equals negative x minus 1. All right? You can't just put the negative on the first one. Then we just do our thing. I'm going to add the x, get 4x. Add the 9, get 8. And x equals 2. Then I need to check. Okay? So 5 times 3 is 15, minus 9 is what? What's 15 minus 9? 6. Absolute value of 6, and then 5 plus 1 is 6. I'm good. If you need to do the work off to the side, especially if they get more complicated, that's fine. Now let's check 2. 2 times 3 is 6, minus 9, negative 3, but the absolute value gives me a 3. 2 plus 1 is 3. Both of these work just fine. Okay? Everybody okay with that? All right. Now, what do I need to do first on 14? Divide by 2. So I am going to divide both sides by 2 because of that 2 right there. I'm going to get the absolute value of h plus 8 equals 7h. Oh, no, making that a k. 7h. Everybody good with that? All right, so now just going to do our thing. H plus 8 equals 7h. And h plus 8 equals negative 7h. And I don't have to distribute over there. That's good. Then I'm just going to separate these again because they start to run together for me. And I'm going to get 8 equals 6h. And so 8 over 6. What is 8 over 6 reduced? 4/3. And that is h. Okay. If you are using, when you're doing this stuff on your own, if you are using a calculator, you're not turning that into a decimal. We leave it as a fraction. Okay. And then I'll figure out if I want to box this here in just a second. And then I have this negative 7h, so I'm going to subtract h from both sides. So 8 equals negative 8h. So negative 1 equals h. Then we're going to check ourselves. Okay, so because this is a fraction, maybe we want to write some stuff down, and we can do it over here because I know there's not a lot of room over there. I'm going to do 2 times the absolute value of 4/3. What did I do? This right here? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. That's number 14. What did I do? 2, and then 4/3 times 4/3 plus 8 equals 14 times 4/3. Okay. Yep. So I agree with what? Oh, you thought what was it? It's an absolute value. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Everybody okay with what I did so far? I just substituted it into the original to see if this one works. All right, now we've got all these fractions, and we don't want to freak out about fractions, okay? So let's just take a deep breath here. Let's go ahead and let's multiply. Well, actually, let me show you this. You don't even have to multiply the 14 times the 4 right now. Like this, it's times, we're good. I could take the value of this. Well, let me ask you this way. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out how you want to do this. At some point, we have to talk about fractions. We want to go ahead and combine all these fractions and figure it out this way. Like this is probably what we need to do. We just need to rip the Band-Aid off. Okay, let's do that. So I'm still going to have this 2, and this is positive, all positive, so the absolute value is kind of irrelevant at this point. Would you agree? Then I need to add 4/3 to 8. When I add fractions, what do I have to have? A common what? Denominator. So I'm going to put 8 over 1, but I need the denominator to be 3. What's 3 times 8? 24. So really, this is 24 over 3. You agree with that? So 24 over 3 plus 4 over 3 is what? 28 over 3. Everybody good with that? And that's equal to, now, and if you had a calculator, you could let it help you with this. And on the TSIA, what calculator they allow you to use, if they allow you to use one that actually does fractions, I don't know the answer to that. SAT, yes, but we still need some skills here. 4 times 14, what is that? Try again. 56. Okay, so this is 56 over 3. Now, what is 2 times 28? 56. So this would also be 56 over 3, 56 over 3. I like this one. Okay? It hurt a little bit to have to go through it, but we figured it out, right? Okay, so then I'm going to take that -1, and I'm going to substitute it in. So I have 2 times the absolute value of -1 plus 8 equals 14 times -1. Well, this is going to be 7 times 2, which is 14. -1 times 14 is a -14. Those are not equal, so this is an extraneous solution. Okay? So I'm going to save you some work by telling you, you really only have to check them if you have variables in the absolute value and out of the absolute value. The other ones you don't have to check every time. And they won't all be this yucky. That one was really not that nice. But repeat everything I just said about the extraneous solution. Okay, so we got these solutions, and we're assuming that we're right, that we got the right numbers. We did. And so when we substitute them back in, if I get a true statement, like I did here, because this would give me 56 over 3, then that makes this good. It works. When I substituted that one in, I got 14 equals -14. And that's not a true statement, so this one doesn't work. That's what makes it an extreme. Oh, so here, you see how we have the absolute value, and then there's variables outside of it? Right here, this was the absolute value, but there's no variables on the outside of it, so we don't have to check for extraneous solutions. You only need to if you have variables inside and outside the absolute value. Does that help? Okay, thank you. Anything else? All right. Y'all do 15. Got multiple steps. You can do this. At least get your answers. If I need to walk you through the fraction part of the checking, I will do that. Should give you a hint that you're going to get fractions. Don't forget about that negative with the parentheses when you set up your equations. That's where something bad could happen. Bad, real bad. We don't want that. And if you feel confident, go ahead and check your solutions. If you feel like you need me to walk you through the fraction part of that, I will do that once I feel like everybody's got this done or got a chance to think through it. Okay, so let's look at 15. And when we substitute them back in, even though technically it's like substitute them back into the original, yes, this is the original one they gave me, but here I just moved the n over. Wouldn't this form of that just be a little bit easier to substitute in? Would you agree? Just because you'd have less n's. So we're going to substitute it into this one. So I'm going to have the absolute value of 8 minus 2 times 3/4 equals 6 times 3/4 plus 2. Everybody okay with that? Absolute value. I can't drop that yet because maybe I'm not sure if this will be positive or negative. So 8 and then 2 times 3/4. Yes, that is 6/4. But I can also, like if this is 2 over 1, I can reduce that 2 with the 4. Or I can think of it as 6/4 and that reduces to 3/2. However you want to think about it. Okay. Same thing when I multiply this. Put this over 1, I can reduce the 6 and the 4 by 2. Or I can multiply and get 18 over 4, and that reduces to 9/2 plus 2. Everybody good with those? All right, I don't know where we are on loving and hating fractions. So what would my common denominator be here? 2. So I'm going to make this into 16 over 2. So 16 over 2 minus 3 over 2 is going to be 13 over 2, and it's positive, so I can drop the absolute value. This is going to be 4 over 2, and when I add 9 and 4, I'm going to get 13 over 2. This one works, so I like this one. Everybody okay with that? All right. Now the other one, negative 5/2. Absolute value of 8 minus 2 times negative 5/2 equals 6 times negative 5/2 plus 2. All right, so here, right here, negative times a negative is a positive. So I know I'm going to have 8 plus something, which means I can drop my absolute value. 2 times 5/2 is what? 5. Equals, and then 6 times 5/2, or you can make that into 30 over 2, whatever you want to do, but it's going to be negative 15 plus 2. Now, before I even add anything else together, is this going to be a true statement? No, they are not equal, so I do not like that one. Okay. What questions you got? All right, let's look at 16. So if you haven't done 16, we can just do it together so that we can be done with this. Is the absolute value isolated? Yes, so I'm good to go. I've got negative 4w minus 2 equals 6w plus 20. And then the other one, I need the negative version of the left. Negative 4w minus 2 equals 6w plus 20. Now, when you're setting it up, if you want to just go ahead and change the signs on both, that's fine. Just make sure you're not skipping too many steps and get yourself confused, okay? So here, when I solve this one, let's see, I'd add this over here. So I think I would get 10W here and negative 22 over here. Yep, okay. Then I divide, and I'm going to get negative 22 over 10 equals negative 11 over 5, and that's W. Everybody good with that one? All right, I'll take that as a yes. Then we get 4W plus 2 equals 6W plus 20. And I'm going to subtract over here to get 2W, subtract over here to get a negative 18. So I get negative 9 equals W. And I will just go ahead and tell you on this one, so I don't make you cry with fractions, that these both work. Any questions? We understand the process is here? We can do this? Yes? Awesome. So I'm going to give you your assignment. Hopefully you can knock this out pretty quickly. You don't have to turn it in tomorrow, but the sooner you get it done, the better. Just get it out the way. And if you have your other assignment, your salmon one, and you haven't given it to me, go ahead and give it to me because I need a grade this week. And we can check. We've checked it. Hopefully we're good. You'll be fine. Are you copying somebody's assignment? I am going to smack you in the face right here. Is that what you're doing? Okay, good. All right, good job. Just making sure. If you're not done, if you need to give it to me tomorrow, that's fine. Or if you have questions. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Oh, you need help? Okay. So, hang on, let's do what we got. Find 3 equations such as the sum of the smallest number, x, plus 4 times the largest number, okay, is, that should be equals. Put an equals there. Okay. 51 more than twice the median number. Okay, beautiful. So this x, he just comes down, he hangs out, and then you just distribute this 4 to this and this. Is that what you were asking? Okay, okay. Yes, 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 absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Good. Oh, thank you. Anybody else ready to turn it in? I definitely need it by tomorrow, so. Were you cheating? Oh, yeah. I still don't have the binder over there because as much as I try to get my act together, it's not really happening. All right, here you go. Oh, we're still recording.